Hello everyone and welcome into the FedEx Preview Show. I'm Jonathan Merryman here with Marty Snider of NBC Sports. Big weekend. Marty, you guys are back.
Yeah, we're back.
In the booth on pit road. But before we get there, let's recap Sonoma. Martin Truex Jr., he goes back-to-back at Sonoma. Could have won the Roval last year, has an additional win at Sonoma. Is he the best road course racer we have in the Cup Series?
I think certainly he's the best road course racer right now in terms of driver talent. But I think when you see these drivers kind of go on streaks at road courses, you got to give some credit to the crew chief as well. I think the box for a crew chief at a road course is much wider than it is at mile and a half, certainly at super speedway racetracks. So I think Cole Pern, that entire team, has done a fantastic job at creating very good setups, and there's a really good opportunity for a crew chief to do something special at these road courses. I think Cole Pern and Martin Truex Jr. have something very special going on right now, and you certainly have to go. Watkins Glen is a ways away, and the Roval is a ways away, but they're the favorite. Right now, they're the guys to beat on the road courses.
They got a couple of wins at Chicagoland as well in 16 and 17, but slide job last year. What a way for NBC to debut the 2018 season. You know, let's temper expectations a little bit. Finishes like that don't come around all that often. But what are the odds we have a good race in Chicagoland?
Well, I think the odds of a good race are fantastic. It's a racetrack where you can race too wide. You can run against the wall. That's why Kyle Larson loves this place so much. Are we going to see slide job 2? Probably not. I mean, those things happen once in 100 races, as you mentioned, Jonathan. They don't happen all the time. But this is a racetrack where you can pull off a slide job like we saw last year with Kyle Larson trying to pull that on Kyle Busch and the excitement we saw at the end of the race. That's something you wouldn't do until the very end of the race, but this racetrack, certainly with the old surface, this is the original surface since 2001, so 18 years on this surface. So it's been around a long time. I think that this is a racetrack or race that we're going to see two-wide racing all day long, a lot of fun. And I know this is a racetrack where a lot of drivers have circled on their calendar. They're excited to get to Chicagoland.
All right, let's talk about Toyota. They've won the past 4 at this racetrack, Denny in 15. We talked about Martin going back-to-back 16 and 17. Kyle Busch won it last year. Yeah. What are the odds Toyota, Joe Gibbs Racing, ends up back in victory lane, and who's got the best shot at beating them?
Certainly the favorites to win the race. You look at Kyle Busch, you look at Martin Truex Jr. and what they've been able to do, and Truex comes in my opinion, obviously as a clear-cut favorite. Low grip racetracks, I think they've struggled a little bit more with than general mile and a half, and Kyle Busch has maybe not been the best at mile and a half this year. You look at his success, it really hasn't come at mile and a half racetracks, but I think Joe Gibbs Racing, Toyota are going to be the ones to beat. Kevin Harvick's going to be very strong this weekend. I think Clint Bowyer's going to be very strong this weekend. And I think we can't talk enough about Hendrick Motorsports. I think what they've done in terms of gains in the speed department has to be noticed. I think Chase Elliott's going to be a guy to look for this weekend as well.
Yeah, and let's remember, Hendrick Motorsports, other than Chase Elliott, blowing that motor or using up his oil pump, the 24 and the 9, they were fast at Sonoma. Stewart-Haas Racing, I mean, they had to claw for everything they got. They can put that behind them this week and move on. How big of a deal is that to kind of use the off weekend and the road course weekend as to be a reset point for what they have to do going down the road?
I think it's important because this is a very tough summer stretch. It's its final 10 races going into the regular season to wrap up that, get ready for the playoffs. I think this is the time where all of the teams in the garage area really focus on how do we get better for the playoffs. Certainly the guys who are in the playoffs, they're focusing on that. I think Stewart-Haas Racing, what you just mentioned, I think a scrappy weekend for Kevin Harvick. I like what they did. I think they're just trying to figure out how to put races together as an organization. They remind me a lot of Joey Logano and that team last year. Speed, couldn't quite put races together, but when it came playoff time, Joey Logano and his team were able to put it together. So I wouldn't count out Kevin Harvick and his team yet. I kind of sense that there's a stretch coming where they could win a few races, start putting things together, and in the playoffs, they'll still be the 4 team and still be a threat to win the title.
You mean to tell me they don't hand the cup out in July?
They don't. They do not. They hand it out in November for a reason, and there's a long way to go. There's the 10 regular season races and the 10 playoff races as well.
All right, who you picking this weekend?
I'm going to go with Chase Elliott this weekend. I think I noticed the speed that they've had. I noticed that they've gotten better. Sometimes when you have a bad race like they had at Sonoma with the engine failure, I think that kind of motivates you, so I'm going to go with Chase Elliott this weekend.
All right, I'm going to take the 12 of Ryan Blaney. I think the best buds there are going to end up battling it out at the end. I'm going to take the 12 car if you take the 9.
None of us took Joe Gibbs Racing. Pretty incredible. What's wrong with us?
Yeah, I know. They'll be in my fantasy lineup.
I know, exactly.
All right, now where you can watch the race, it's the Camping World 400 at Chicagoland Speedway this Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Marty and crew on NBCSN. Be sure to check those guys out. We appreciate you. We'll catch you back here next week as we preview Daytona.